I tend to think of myself as a one-man wolf pack. But when I met Mickey, I knew he was one of my own. And my wolf pack, it grew by one. So there was two of us in the wolf pack. I was alone first in the pack, and then Mickey joined in later. All right, now that I got your attention, gotta stay close to the mic here so you can hear me. But you're gonna have to try to be quiet. Got a lot of speakers, and not as vocal as I am. So what can you say about a man who is admired, revered, and loved by everyone? Who's him? I can start by saying he's not the man we're honoring tonight. Today we roast Mickey McGuire for years of dedication to the sport of rugby. He played at Brockport, Buff State, and with the Old Boys. He has held positions with the New York State Rugby Conference and with the USA Rugby. He has organized numerous events, and he has coached the University of Buffalo for over 20 years. In the past 37 years, Mickey has done more for rugby than Gaddafi has done for Libya. Wow. You know, the world is going crazy when the biggest rapper is a white guy, the best golfer is a black guy, the tallest guy in the NBA is Chinese, the Swiss hold the America's Cup, France is accusing the US of arrogance, Germany doesn't want to go to war, and we're honoring Mickey McGuire for his efforts and contributions. Not to say Mickey was lazy, but his philosophy always was, hard work never killed anyone. But why take the chance? His mother always said to him, Mickey, you won't amount to anything because you procrastinate. And he would just snap back, just you wait. All kidding aside, I've known Mickey for 40 years, and if any of you need a friend, get a dog. Let me tell you a little bit about the Mickey McGuire I know. I'll never forget the first time we met, although I keep trying. It was my first day at a new school at freshman football practice. They had already been training for 2 weeks. As I walked up, everyone's attention was focused on one person. He was out in front demonstrating how to make a one-handed catch. I just assumed he was the coach. So I introduced myself. He wasn't the coach, it was Mickey McGuire. Even then, he displayed leadership qualities and had that charismatic personality. You know what I mean? You know how many times I practiced that word? Charismatic. One more time, it'd be on my head, I know. All right, in the 4 years of high school, Mickey went on to become class president, team captain, king of the prom, and he also played the lead in the school play. Hell, he was a one-man episode of Glee. We had a lot of fun back then, but I guess what really summed up high school for Mickey were those words spoken to him by his former football coach, Police Officer Wally Robinson. The evening of Bruce's Stag, when Mickey was trying on his new shiny bracelets. Mickey, 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 what are we gonna do with you? It took Mickey a while to find his place at the university level. By that, I mean he's the only person I know who attended 4 different schools as an incoming freshman. You can't make this shit up, you know? Mickey was the one who talked me into coming out and playing rugby at Buff State. What I came to find out was that Mickey was Buff State rugby. He was captain, coach, trainer, manager, and in addition, he always had to look out for everyone. We used to call him Dad. You gotta get that, buddy?
Excuse me, am I interrupting you? 1-1.
Hey, Morano, it was your village. They're looking for their idiot.
Boom.
Alright, where was I? We used to call him Dad. He had to keep us in line and out of trouble. So you can imagine with our bunch, he wasn't happy very often. Sometimes we'd go to the pub after practice, and after a while the bartender would ask Mickey to leave so they could start happy hour. Mickey was also our spokesman. He was the one that dealt with all authority figures, and he was great at it. He was a true Irish politician. He could tell someone to go to hell in such a way that they would look forward to the journey. But it was during the matches where Mickey really shined. On the pitch, Mickey was the flashy fly half. Good looking, fit, and of course, always wearing his signature boxer shorts, hanging out below his rugby shorts. The women loved him, and we looked up to him. He always schooled us about his philosophy. If you look good, you play good. Well, we did look good, and we did play good too. We had a lot of fun back then, but I guess what really summed up college for Mickey were those words spoken to him by a Louisiana state trooper. After Mickey tried to use his charm and charisma to try and persuade the nice officer not to arrest our teammates for shooting a moon out the back of the school station wagon.
There you go.
I don't know where you heathens are from, but why don't y'all act like white folk? You don't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. After what I think was double-digit years playing college ball, Mickey played some with the old boys and got involved with rugby administration. But he soon found his passion coaching the UB men's club. By the way, to you UB players, now that Mickey's retired, it's safe to have your mothers come back to the games.
Hey, where's Brett?
While coaching at UB, Mickey has enjoyed great success. UB is a powerhouse in New York State Rugby Conference and very often ranked in the top 20 nationally. UB is considered a model collegiate rugby organization. I think, Mickey, you said something like 86% in the 2000s win percentage, which is the best in the nation or in the conference. Like that for Mickey. I remember the first time Mickey invited me to run a training session for him. I got to the pitch and introduced myself. Then after a warm-up run, I told the players to assume their normal positions. So they all went back and stood behind the goalpost to wait for the conversion. Then there was a time practice was delayed for nearly 2 hours after one of Mickey's players reported finding an unknown white powdery substance on the practice field. Mickey immediately suspended practice and called campus security in to investigate. After an investigation, it was determined that the white substance unknown to the players was the tri-line. Hey, you guys have the white powder on you. We all know about Mickey's success at UB, but what is not widely known is his involvement in the national level. In the 90s, he volunteered a great deal of his time to USA Rugby, Over that period, he had many duties with both the collegiate program and with the women's program. In 1998, he was asked to manage the U.S. women's team at the first official Women's World Cup in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, he had to decline for personal reasons. From 1995 until 2000, Mickey served on the USA Rugby Football Union Board of Directors. But enough about Mickey already. You'll hear more of that crap later. I'm sure you'll have played. I'd like to thank everyone for coming here tonight. I hope you had hope you had enough to eat. I hope you enjoyed the food. It's a great turnout. I'd like you to welcome our speakers here tonight. You know, of course, you all know Mickey. Why else would you be here unless you lost a bet or something? And then we got Rob McGuire, Jim Temple, Bill Beckman, Steve Flipwitz. We got three Steves on this side of that bench. Steve Murphy. And I'm not going to use my real name because I don't want to be associated with this, whatever it is. All right? It's a great turnout tonight, a real nice mix. I want to welcome you all, former teammates, former players, friends, families. I did also receive a rather large number of congratulatory emails, but mostly from people congratulating themselves for not being here. Well, I believe we have a memorable evening for you tonight. I mean, a train wreck is memorable, right? All right, so you may have figured out beer is free, pay for the booze, you know, what else you want for 20 bucks. Tim Herzog, former player with Mickey. Here tonight. Our bartender tonight is Mike Pierce. Mike's a true professional. He was trained by Marty Lesh himself. We also have a cocktail waitress working tonight, so you guys don't have to get up. You know, just make sure you tip them generously. Okay, we also got a raffle going on. If you haven't, we're raffling off a 32-inch TV and a 50-50 split. So if you haven't bought tickets yet, there's still time. Finally, there's also 3x5, pink 3x5 cards on the tables. This is so you guys can put some little tidbits or stories about Mickey that you want and don't mind being read. Throw them in the jar up at the bar and I'll get to them if I can. Just make them legible. There's all the noise coming from back there. Come on. All right. I want to introduce you to the family. Mickey's family's here tonight. I'd like them to stand up and take a bow when they could. Okay, first off, we got Mickey's cousin Pat. Oh. We all know him as Peepers. Peeps played with us at Buff State and Hobart. And we have Mickey's other cousin, Terry. Terry is here. Terry lives in Boston, but came here directly from spending 10 days in Jerusalem. Wow, Terry, with all that religious karma, you still got stuff coming here? Wow. Mickey's brother John is here. John came here all the way from Illinois with a buddy of his. I mean, I guess since the corn stopped growing, there's not a lot to do there, right? Next, we have Mickey's much younger sister, Mary. Mary flew in from North Carolina. Yeah, Mickey, I know. Chronologically, you're younger, but I was going by looks. Then we have Mickey's little children, Morgan and Mike. I don't have any jokes about them. They've suffered enough. Actually, when Mickey was seeking custody, the judge talked to Morgan and Mike. Now this is very important, but I have to ask. Does your mommy beat you? And they said, no, of course not. They said, well, the judge said, does your daddy beat you? And they said, no, of course not. So the judge was relieved that he asked them who they'd like to live with, and Mike and Morgan talked about it for a bit, and they both came back and said, my daddy. And the judge asked why, and they said, well, you said it was very important. Well, my dad coaches UB rugby, and they don't beat anyone.
That's true.
Okay, last but certainly not least is Mickey's lovely bride, Mickey. How about that? Mickey and Mickey, isn't that cute? It actually works out great for Mike. He's used to calling his own name out during sex anyways. So Mickey, how long you guys been married now? 3 years? Almost still newlyweds almost. But the wedding night, it was good? Good, because, you know, sometimes sex at Mike's age is like trying to shoot pool with a rope. Mickey, have you ever tried to put an oyster in a slot machine? You know, in his younger days, Mickey used to fancy himself as a swinger. He thought that instead of an umbilical cord, he was born with a bungee cord. But don't worry, though. The boys, we knew better. We would get the word. One girl told us that having sex with Mickey was like going on vacation. It never seemed to last long enough. Once he did go to a massage parlor, but it was self-service. Even a hooker once told him that she had a headache. No, all kidding aside, congratulations, and I hope you two have a long and happy marriage. I have never seen Mickey happier than I have in the last couple of years. All right, enough of this mushy stuff. Let's get on with the roast. Mickey, just one word of advice. Mike, like most men, only have two emotions, hungry and horny. So if you see him without an erection, make him a sandwich. All right, here we go. On with the show. Our first speaker tonight drove here from Rochester. He could have stayed in Rochester and told his jokes there tonight, but he chose to tell them here in Buffalo, mainly because of his high regards for the people of Rochester. We call up Flip, Steve Flipowitz. He's a longtime family friend of the McGuires. Flip spent a lot of time in the McGuire household. I'm not exactly sure how that translated into Flip's career as in law enforcement, but I'm pretty sure he had to lie on his application. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Flipowitz. Flip.
Well, I'll tell you, I was honored, really honored and excited when Bear called me, asked me if I could speak at this retirement of Michael. I started to put a bunch of stuff together. I worked on it for a week and a half or so. And I get another phone call from Bear. And he said, I got to tell you something, Flip. Probably should have told you this in the first place. He said, any of Michael's bizarre sexual escapades, they're up. You know, don't even go there. Well, that was 80% of my material, so it's going to be a little bit late. Now, I
Derek, why'd you even try?
really knew Mike in his younger years. A lot of people don't know this, but Mike and I go way back. Actually, Mike and I went to kindergarten together. That's where I really first met Mike. I was 5, he was 8. Really bright kid. Bright kid. And his dad, he had a thing, and I think some of the McGuires will remember this. You know, Mickey used to smoke cigarettes, and he had that thing, and what he called Mike all the time was, "You dumbass." Jesus, you dumbass. That was one of his favorite lines for Mike, "You dumbass." I can remember he'd come home from a trucking 2 or 3 days on the road. He was an on-the-road trucker, and he'd walk in the door, and he'd see Mike and I sitting there, and he'd say, "I thought I told you to run away from home, you dumbass. Take the dumb pole lock with you, will you? For Christ's sake." And I do remember one of Mickey's greatest lines that he said to Mike one time. He said, "You know, Michael, I think you're about as useless as the Pope's testicles." You know? Now, Michael always thought in high school, in middle school, you know, he was a pretty popular guy. Like Bear said, leading the play, class president, etc. And when he went up to Ralph's Market, they had apartments up on the second floor. A ton of people there all the time, up and down, and guys in and guys out. If you went up there anytime, you had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys hanging out with Mike. And Mike always said, "You know, I'm a pretty cool guy. I got all these guys hanging around, you know, all good friends and everything." He really never realized that his sister was the one that was attracted to him. We had a bunch of guys with hormones. We're looking at that game for marriage, you know. And I don't know, they're rugby guys. Maybe you know a little bit about Michael that he fancied himself as quite the dancer. And really, anyway, that was the wrong one. That's okay. But I'll run a story by you one time. Mike used to do a dance routine at the Glen Park Casino. His cousin Terry and a guy by the name of Tim Schenk. And they're at the Glen Park Casino dancing, and they're doing a tap routine. You know, Mike's, believe it or not, Mike's got tap shoes on, and he's dancing away to this one routine that his mom and dad are watching. And during the course of this dance routine, there's a guy out in the audience giving him shit. You know, he's heckling him, and you know. Now, true to his theater background from the Parker Sisters dance studio, Michael finished the dance right to the very highest beat. And as soon as he got done, tap shoes, little darling tap shoes and all, he jumped off the freaking stage, grabbed the guy, beat the shit out of him, pounded him into the ground, and Mike and Terry and Tim had to pull him off, and then they got him out of there, but not till they put that 72-year-old guy right back in the ring. Speaking of fighting, it's kind of like another thing that comes to mind with me. Peepers, oh, by the way, Peepers, glad you finally made it somewhere today. So I wasn't sure if you were going to make it this time, but nice to see you. Peepers' graduation, and he was going into the Navy. They had a huge party set up for Saturday, and the day before we had a little get-together. We I don't know if you want to play Zoom Schwartz and Figliano. It's a drink game, and we go down to their dance studio. And we're in the dance studio, and we're drinking, and there's a bunch of guys from DePue show. And we didn't get along real good with the guys from DePue. And as the one guy tries to get in, their cousin Joe from Pittsburgh closes the guy's head at the door, just about squished it, and we pushed him out. Well, these guys got in, and I think there was 4 or 5 of us there, and a great brawl broke out. And here we are in a dance studio, mirrors and everything like that. And Joe's got 4 guys coming at him. He's backed into a corner. He's doing pretty good. There was a guy by the name of Tim Weilo was there. He was fighting, and we're fighting. And I'm looking over to the side, and I see Peepers, and I see Michael guarding all of the mirrors. We're about getting our ass kicked, 2 or 3 guys against us, and Mike turns to Peepers and goes, "Hey, you're doing a good job." Yeah, Mike, you're doing real good too, you know, but a couple more guys came in from Depew, and now we're starting to get the shit beat out of us, and Mike goes, "Hey, Peepers, they're getting the best of it now." He goes, "I think they need some help." People goes, "Yeah, I'll handle the mirrors here, I'll handle the mirrors." Well, Mike says, "Okay, all right, you can handle them. All right, I'll go up and get my dad. I'll be right back." Well, that was one of the fighting things. Now, Mike was very active in high school musicals. Followed in People's footsteps. He had to lead West Side Story, and I happened to track down one of the girls that when he had the lead there, that he danced with in West Side Story. And I said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing for Mike. Can you give me a little bit of dirt, or can you say anything?" And she goes, "Well, all I can tell you," she said, I did have to dance with Mike, and what I can tell you about dancing with Mike, it's kind of the equivalent of trying to move a piano all by yourself. I think you got a picture of Mike up there. He's up there in West Side Story right there. Now, that wasn't quite the West Side Story. We'll get this audio visual straight now. Talking about some rugby, I've only seen Mike play rugby a couple times. But when he played, a lot of guys told me that when Mike played rugby, he didn't know the meaning of fear. Well, I got news here. Between you and me, there's a lot of words that Mike doesn't know the meaning of. In fact, during his coaching years of rugby, another player told me this, that during one of the, pre-game pep talks that he was giving them, he said, guys, listen, you can do this. I'm telling you right now, rugby is 90% mental. And he says, the other half is physical. Now, just leave it to a genius like him to try to get 140% out of his player. 140%. Now, also, when he was in high school, Mike really fancied himself as quite the ladies' man in his younger days. Really. No. Oh, yeah.